What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Cure and more from the singles compilation, Japanese Whispers. Thank you again to Phil. And the next track is Speak My Language, which is often an expression to mean less literally linguistics and more figuratively or conceptually the idea of speaking in a manner or with a vernacular or indeed diction that is perceptible, familiar, maybe best, to the listener. Now, it could be in response to someone speaking in a way that is far apart from that, or in a manner that is similar to someone you're saying, hey, now you're speaking my language. But I do wonder, in the context of their narratives and their often emotionally complicated and nuanced songs, what that might be in practice for Robert. So yes, ultimately it's the type of phrase you often hear, and in relation to difficulties or facilitating communication with another person, it does admittedly make me think of that line from Land Down Under by Men at Work, that where he literally says, do you speak of my language? But yes, ultimately, I'm expecting this narrative to be quite far away from that one. I guess I'll see, or at least I'll do my best to pick it up on a first listen. This is The Cure. The track is Speak My Language, and it's included on the 1983 singles compilation, Japanese Whispers. Ascending spoons. Wow. Well, a shorter one. I don't know exactly how long that was. Less than 3 minutes. So yeah, definitely a shorter tune in comparison to tracks on the previous couple albums, which tended to hit, like 5-6 minutes. And yeah, it feels a little closer to one of the songs I've known from them before this deep dive started, Love Cats, which I think we're coming up to on this compilation, in that it had a bit of a quirkiness, a bit of a light and keyboard-based sound. And even though the songs that we've heard on this compilation so far are definitely lighter than the previous couple albums, and I keep thinking of Phil's comment that just about everything is lighter than Pornography, the album, But even saying that, this definitely feels a bit like more melodic and lighthearted than some of the other stuff I've heard from them. And yet I feel like, again, the concepts at play are perhaps more complicated interpersonally or emotionally. I will say I enjoyed that keyboard run. The track overall had a bit of a feel of like an improvisational jazz performance, like, and I don't know if that actually was a contrabass or just a bass guitar, but played like very deep and as if it was a stand-up bass that you'd see in an improvisational jazz performance. But yeah, it made me feel a little bit like we were, in front of a jazz trio or someone, like people, what's the right word? Like displaying their improvisational prowess on like more traditional instruments. But as I said, even with that, it had a bit of this like synth keyboard, lighter pop feel to it. So a bit of a sonic blend, I suppose. And then we had him being Robert singing proper lines in his characteristic voice, but then also talking and seemingly like, if not arrhythmically, at a more like outside the lines type of rhythm, almost like a cacophony where I wasn't sure what he was saying, which I think could very well fit with the idea that like if someone's not speaking your language, it's hard to get a sense what they're saying and you're not even sure like where the word breaks are, like you're trying to listen more clearly. But there were other lines in the proper vocals that I heard where, it's like across the street and waving goodbye, and like I'm not sure how all the imagery that I heard like fits in or is part of this tale, but it sounds like we are dealing with communication relative to people's interactions, and again, maybe with this sense that not everything is getting through, parts of it are like lost in translation, so to speak. And yes, I enjoy the quirkiness of the track, which, understanding that maybe, Robert looking back on this phase, not everything he felt was like a, complete work of art, maybe in the manner that some of their previous tunes had been, or maybe, before they found a groove that was, more reflective of the output they were trying to provide. Again, people had commented that, there's some dialogue between them and the label in terms of like, can't you make some more like hit singles and so on. So I get that, in any deep dive, I suppose, or in any band's artistic history and catalog, there's probably some tunes that are more reflective of what they were trying to do, and others that are perhaps more indicative of pressure that was being put on them, or at least a desire for them to chart commercially and so on. But this one feels like maybe in between in that regard. It still has a sort of quirky artistry, and yet it definitely feels more accessible than some of the stuff on the previous couple albums. So yeah, it was a fun tune, one that I'm curious to know, if there is a very distinct narrative here, what that is, and how those spoken word sections play into that, if not a cacophony of not entirely clear language that is, distinct from what someone might be more familiar with or understand easier. So in any case, let me know what you think, and I will see you next time. Peace.